I always speak with my students that when you can use AI to help you to increase your productivity, you are still responsible for the accuracy by yourself. For students or faculty members that have never tried using AI, so I really encourage them to try it. And then try to build your AI skills, and that can really empower you in teaching and also in education.
Welcome to the CFI Faculty Lounge Podcast, an outlet created for continuous learning and actionable insights for faculty. I'm your host, Eric Magrum, inviting you to join us in conversation with dedicated educators who share their experiences, challenges, and effective solutions. Today, I'm excited to welcome Dr. Xuebin Wei, Associate Professor in College of Integrated Science and Engineering and author of a recently published textbook, Social Data Analytics in the Cloud with AI. Xuebin has a wealth of knowledge on how to utilize generative AI that we hope to glean insights from. Welcome, Xuebin, and thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, Xuebin, could you explain or define generative artificial intelligence in a way that would make sense for people outside of maybe computer science or even academia?
Well, so first I think, let's say what is artificial intelligence? So by definition, it's like computers or machines that they can perceive the environment and also take actions just like human beings. And generative AI is on top of those. It's a kind of latest technology in AI, and they can produce multiple different type of outputs. So like text messages, images, videos, or audios.
Now, the word large language model gets thrown out, and I don't know what that exactly is. Can you explain what that is?
Well, yeah, sure. So all of those AI systems, they are powered by different type of the machine learning models. And in the past, we have the traditional machine learning models, which just make predictions based on the training data. And later, we have the deep learning models that can just mimic the human brain's structure, like neural network models, that can understand or analyze text messages or images. And recently, we have the latest model that's called foundation models. So foundation models are built with millions or billions of parameters, and they are trained with a large number of the data set. And they are really the brain to power those generative applications. And they also have different types of models. For example, large language model is one type, or the most common type of the foundation models that can generate text messages, or like you can just chat with a chatbot. Actually, we also have other types of the foundation model, like diffusion model that generate those images. We also have the reasoning models that help you to resolve those complicated questions.
So if you were to distill how all of this works into a phrase or two for the lay person, what would that phrase be?
So it's just like you can think that as a program that learns a pattern from existing data and then make predictions on the new data.
So this AI is being trained on inputs, and I'm assuming it's the inputs, like, for example, if it's A, B, it can predict that we want C next. Is that correct?
Yes, that actually was the early stage of the training of the large language model. So the first step is that we want the model to be able to predict text messages. And then we also want the model to follow those instructions in the input. So for example, if you ask where is the capital city of the United States, we want the model to answer the question, not to repeat the question like say where is the capital city of other countries. So that's the second step. So we ask the model to follow the instructions and give the answers. So after the model is able to predict the next words, so they're able to answer your questions.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. And also, where is this data coming from? Is this coming from its users?
Well, that's a good question. So because most of the large language models are trained by those tech companies like OpenAI and Google. So some of their public publications say that they collect data from the web pages and also like social media data, and also even any other type of materials like digital images, videos, etc. So they can collecting huge amount of data over the internet, and also use those as the training data to build those large language models or those foundation models.
So would it be accurate to say if it's out on the line, it's being used to train these AIs?
That's a hard question.
Okay,
So
okay.
I think, so technically, you can only use the data that you are allowed to collect
Okay.
and also use. I don't know that in reality that how companies do that, but we heard from news that there are some legal issues because, they collect data that they should not have copyright.
Yeah.
And they still use that in training data, so that might be some legal issues.
Got it. So AI or generative AI, what is the correct term? Can I say AI or do I need to say generative AI?
I think now people just use those terms as a single one, but
Okay.
Technically, AI is a more broad domain, so that generative AI is the latest development in the AI domain. So AI has, in the AI field, so we train different type of machine learning models, and one type of those machine learning model is the foundation models, and the foundation model really powers the latest generative AI development. So generative AI is like a new technology in AI.
Okay. So it would be most accurate to say generative AI.
Yeah, if you refer to the ChatGPT, those technologies.
Okay. So AI or generative AI is a buzzword.
Yeah.
What do you think people commonly misunderstand about it?
And actually, I'm not sure about the most common misunderstandings, but I think if I can guess, probably people may feel like AI as a human being. Actually not. So AI or the model are still trained based on the data and also make predictions. So they don't have emotions or like consciousness. And also because they are making predictions, so they still can make mistakes. So we should not always trust like 100% that what AI gave us. So they can make mistakes, and also they can generate hallucinations, like something that never exists.
So we hear the term hallucinations. If you read about generative AI, you're going to hear this term, or if you listen to somebody speak, you're going to hear about hallucinations.
Right.
What does that mean? What is a hallucination, a generative AI hallucination? What is that?
It means that AI just creates something that not accurate. They made things up. So for example, like early days when I asked ChatGPT to find out some literatures talking about like AI, and they just gave me 10 papers with URLs, and actually none of those papers exist.
So why would the AI make it up?
Because they are still making predictions. So they are based on their training data, they feel like, oh, those are something like based on what they have been trained. So just make, do the calculation based on algorithm. They just produce like tokens or words. And however, sometimes it's not accurate. Or for example, if I do ask them in the early stage, they don't have like online searching capabilities. They just make up things based on the training data.
Okay, so would it be accurate to say the hallucination is the closest thing that it can access or it remembers it's been trained on to what to the prompt that you've selected?
Yes.
Okay.
And they can totally like just make up those words. So
and so the more niche the thing that you're asking about or prompting about, the more niche it is, or the higher level of expertise that you have and you're trying to seek through the generative AI, the more likely for hallucinations?
It also depends. Actually, it's like in the early stage, so our AI are more tend to make hallucinations. And nowadays we have like new technologies, for example, like the AI itself, so can search online to give you the real data from website. So depends on your instructions. So they may be able to do the real data search for you and also give you the right answers. And also sometimes that we have a technology called RAG, or retrieval augmented generation, which means that so we connect our database to the large language model. So we like give a textbook to the AI, the brain, and when we ask questions, AI will check the textbook first, and then they give the relevant information, and they give us the results. So that will by using that technology, so the results will be more accurate.
Okay. We may have covered this already, but could you explain in broad terms what machine learning is and what it involves?
Well, so basically machine learning is a program that we give the program like training data. Machine learning will try to understand the relationships in those data sets, and then they can make predictions or classifications when we give it a new data set. So for example, like we have some records of the house prices. We know the true house price of those houses, and we know some other features of those houses. For example, like when the house being built, the size of the house, and also number of rooms the house has. Those houses have. and we throw the data to the algorithm or the model, and the model is trying to find out the patterns. For example, the model will learn that the house built in recent years or with bigger size or have more rooms will be more expensive. So that's a pattern that the machine learning will understand or will learn. And then we just throw a new data. So let's say we have a house which was built in 2000, have 2,000 square foot, and also have 5 rooms. We throw those data to this model, and the program or the model will give us a predicted price.
So is that kind of how Zillow gets like a Zestimate?
Yes.
Okay.
They probably use more sophisticated models.
Yeah. Okay. So would it be, let's say, for example, if you were a faculty member looking to sell your home and you went in the broader Shenandoah Valley and you got all of the listings for the last 2 years, you put it into AI and you said, this is the area where I live, and then these are the stats for my house, it would give you a pretty accurate estimation on what I might list my house for.
Well, actually, there are several considerations in predicting the house price.
Okay.
So you need to consider like locations, school district, etc. So actually, I did that like 10 years ago. So when I moved to Harrisonburg, I was looking to buy the house, not selling the house. And I collected all the data that selling around Harrisonburg and used a machine learning model to predict the house price based on those features. And I was looking for like if I was interested in the house, and I say, okay, so I bring all the features to that model and see if I give this price. Actually, I just look at the predict price and see whether or not the predict price match the selling price. And if the predict price is higher than the selling price, which means that it's a good buy.
Yeah.
Because the value probably is higher. So that's what I did 10 years ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I am very jealous.
I didn't listen to the model, actually. I just listened to my wife.
As most smart men do. How do data mining and modeling play into building effective generative AI systems?
Well, so data mining is a process that we collect data, we store data in computers, and also we process it, and we get insights from the data so that we can help us make better decisions. And when we need to train those AI models, like those machine learning models, to power those AI applications, we need a huge amount of data. Like we said earlier, so we need to collect data from the web page, from the social media. So that's the data collection part. And once data are collected, we need to find a way to store them in the way that we can retrieve the data more efficient, because we have text data, we have images. So we may use database or data lakes to store those all kinds of data, because that's a huge amount of information. And also when we build the machine learning models, we also have to figure out a way that machine is actually so it's able to find the patterns in the text messages. For example, so they developed the embedding models. So those are by different large language models. So it's a mathematical representation of the text data, where the texts have the similar meanings, are close to each other in this multi-dimensional space. So
you get the data.
Yes.
And the AI goes in and looks for patterns.
Exactly.
Can you walk me forward from there?
Like the house price is one. So those are like the basic, the traditional machine learning models. So, and later we have like deep learning model. The structure is mimic humans' brains. So like neural network. And based on that model, so we are able to like classify texts or understand or classify images. And based on that deep learning model, and we built the foundation models. And the foundation model also developed based on the neural network, but they are more complicated, or some foundation models are totally different new structure. Large language model, for example. So they try to understand the meaning of the text by building a model that has billions of the parameters, and also they also organize the text data into a vector space. So, for example, each sentence or each word or each paragraph, they are located into this multi-dimensional space, like 1,500 space. And for the texts or the words that have the similar meanings, and they are located close to each other. And then next, so based on those embedded, so the machine learning model is that large language model is try to find out the best locations that for those text in those embeddings. And next, so they are going to follow that so they can predict the next words based on that the input. And when the large language model is able to predict the next words, then we kind of train the model in the next step. So the first step is that we ask what's the capital city of the United States. The model will repeat like what's the capital city of a different country. And then we train the model in a way that model will follow instructions. So for example, next time we ask what's the capital city of the United States, we expect answer should be Washington, D.C., not repeat the question. So that is involving different type of the further trainings, like the reinforcement learning. After that, so we also need human to evaluate the accuracy. And when the accuracy is high enough, and so then we have the large language model being trained.
So someone is on the other end saying, where's the capital of the United States? And it spits out, I don't know, Omaha, Nebraska. And it says, no, that's the wrong answer.
Right.
And then it says it should be Washington, D.C.
Yes.
And so that one piece of data is now trained, and the next time you ask it, it's going to say Washington, D.C. instead of Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah, so they are not training like specific question, but they're trying to learn the patterns.
Okay. On a similar vein to data mining and modeling within the AI system, what is cloud computing?
Well, cloud computing simply means that those are computers of others, so others' computers. We have different cloud computing providers like Amazon Web Service, AWS. We also have the Google and also Microsoft. So cloud computing really makes those technologies accessible. So for example, if we want to build a database in our class, and the students does not need to, start to worry about those infrastructures in our local labs. What they can do is that they can just go to AWS, open the browser, and after a few clicks, they will have a database that is running on AWS infrastructure. And it is also very flexible, so we can access the database anywhere. So they can access with their personal computers. I can also, as a faculty member, I can access their database. So I can check their work. I can also provide assistance. It also actually lowers the cost. So for example, if we want to train a machine learning model, and we need a very powerful computer, and if we buy that computer, it will cost us like thousands of dollars. And if we use the cloud computing, so for example, if I just go to AWS and use the latest virtual machine, which is $30 per hour, and I can just use that for 1 hour or 2 hours. And when a job is done, I can just stop the instance, and they will stop charging my credits. So that really saves the cost.
So that would lower the cost for any sort of statistical analysis or analysis that you might need to do as a business or for a research paper or for a student.
Exactly, yes.
It also doesn't require the $1,000 or many thousands of dollars worth of computers.
Yes, and you don't need to worry about the security, the power supplies, etc.
So it just makes it much more convenient for all those.
Yes.
I assume that requires a pretty high-end internet connection?
I think we never have any issues with internet connections. So
okay,
because they also build their own physical infrastructures, and they also they also deploy their services in different regions. Actually, we have one data center in Northern Virginia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can see it's pretty fast.
Wow, I was not aware of this. How is AI or how is computing and generative AI changing the way research and development occur?
I think the cloud computing really makes those technologies accessible. So, for example, for large language models, no one can train a model that with their personal computer, at least nowadays. So we are all accessing those services through cloud computing. So we open our browser, we chat with a chatbot, we ask questions, and we send a message to their server, and their server send the response back. And also AI really increase the productivity in research, in learning, and also in teaching. So for example, like in research, so in the past, we may need to spend several months to analyze some data set. And nowadays, we can just just use 1 or 2 days with agent-based coding. So we don't need to worry about write those complicated Python code or SQL queries. And that's also similar for students. So students, when they are studying like data science, and they can empowered by using those AI tools and help them to write Python code or SQL queries, so they can complete a very nice research that's from data collection until generate very fancy data visualizations. So that normally use like several years of training, but now with generative AI, so they can do those stuff by themselves, like just with 1 or 2 weeks. So it's really lowered the bars so that the coding is no longer a constraint for students. What they can really focus on will be like resolve the problems. So what questions they are interested, and what question or what problem they want to resolve. It also benefits teaching, of course. So like they can help us like draft announcements, brainstorm labs, etc.
So what I heard you say is it lowers the barriers effectively.
Right.
And so you're familiar with R, I assume.
Actually not.
Okay.
Yeah, I use R several times, but not familiar with R.
Okay. So I used R in my statistical analysis for my dissertation. And I remember this was like a year or two ago. I said I used I think it was Copilot to help me refine my error. I got this error in R, and I said, "Hey, why is this occur? What's the error in my code?" And it spit it back to me and said, "This is the error. This is what you need to do. Copy and paste it. Boom, go." It was fixed.
Okay.
And I immediately said, "This would have saved me hundreds of hours of time."
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Can you speak to that a little bit about how much time we're talking about? It's taking the learning curve and going from this and making it much sooner. You're getting a better product much sooner.
Exactly.
Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. So for example, in my class, so what the standard process is now is that like we spend like 40 or 50 minutes. We still cover those basics of the syntax of the code because they still need to understand those code. And then the last 10 minutes, I just tell you, okay, by the way, you can use AI. So they have the generative AI integrated in those tools. So for example, like we have a MongoDB database where you can type the queries manually, or you can choose the option like just write your problem in natural language, and MongoDB will convert that natural language problem, like human problem, into their queries automatically for you. So that's the last 10 minutes I told the student you can do that. And then in the next class, so we're doing the lab. So I gave them like 5 questions and you need to answer. And they just try to use their approach so they can write their queries by themselves, or they can ask AI to write queries. And however, they are responsible for the accuracy. And also they all have different data set. So not all the answers are the same. So students will query their data that they collected and then give those their unique answers. And then I told the students that you're responsible for accuracy. So if your answer are not right, you lose points, not AI will lose the points. So some students can finish the work like in 5 minutes. And then I just grade their labs. So because I will check their answers by myself, so I run the answers, and if they got wrong, and they lose the points, and if it got right, and great job.
So I'm sitting here thinking, is the age of taking out a Excel spreadsheet and creating a data set / an SPSS, like are those is that time kind of gone?
That's yeah. So actually, before generative AI, Excel I don't like Excel.
Okay.
Because I prefer using database, which is more reliable and also can store huge amount of data, scale better. And recently, so now the AI is also can be integrated with spreadsheet, so which is also a game changer. So like for example, now when we have Excel data, and we can just ask AI directly in the Excel. So if we have the quantitative data like numbers, and we can ask AI to, okay, so help me summarize this data set and give me some insights. And AI is able to generate different charts and also calculate statistics for you.
From the Excel?
Within the Excel.
Within the Excel?
Yes. And also this is actually I'm talking about Google Sheets.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
so Gemini. And I believe Excel may also have the same function. But the function that I'm describing is Google Sheets.
Okay.
So, and also you can also ask further follow-up questions. So, for example, you can ask why some patterns happen, why those things that seems like, for example, we have some diamonds data, and they have the price and also they have the clarities. And one interesting thing in the data set is that there are some diamonds that they have the highest clarity, they tend to have the lower price. So then we can ask AI, so why that happened? And by using those reasoning capabilities, AI is able to tell you, okay, because number one, those diamonds are smaller, so they check the weights. And number two, they don't have good colors. So even their clarity is good, but their colors is not good. And number three, because my data set is biased. So I have small site data and it just contains those low price, high clarity diamonds. We also can do the other things in spreadsheet as well. So for example, if you have like tweet data, you can just put tweet text in the Excel files and also user locations in the second columns. What you can do, you can just type equation mark AI and percentage. And then in the past, we need to type different formulas. And now you can just ask questions in natural language. So for example, you can ask AI, okay, so analyze the sentimentals of the text in the spreadsheet. You hit enter, you just wait for a few minutes, and you have a new column that contains all the sentimental analysis of those tweet data. So in the past, you need to train a machine learning model to identify the sentimentals, but now you can just do everything in the Excel. Or you can also do a lot of stuff like geocoding. So based on user location, they mentioned where they lived. They can use AI to extract latitude and longitude from the locations, and you can have your data ready. So everything is in the spreadsheet. You can even create maps.
Does it help students get to interpretation of data faster?
Yes, I think so, because if we use a traditional way of sentiment analysis, it's a long learning curve, and it involves a lot of machine learning building process mathematically. And however, so now we have those new tools to do the sentiment analysis. So students can feel it more confident because they know that what they are doing, because they're asking the questions in a natural language. So it's no longer like those statistic models or the machine learning models. And also the results is normally more accurate than the traditional machine learning models because those are powered by large language models. So I think this empowers students to ask different type of questions faster and also more accurate. And of course, AI can still make mistakes, so they still need to double check the output by themselves.
So the process, because of generative AI, it's moving the emphasis, or maybe it's best if we talk about units of time invested. Mm-hmm. It's moving more of the units of student effort time invested towards interpreting and making meaning of the data, as opposed to learning the complex statistical analyses.
Yes, I would say coding part. So it lowers the constraints on the coding part. So, but it really empowers students, and also we can focus more on the problems that we are interested, and so what problem we want to resolve. So we can spend more time on that part, but we can have AI help us to process or analyze the data.
Very cool. So switching gears a little bit, mm-hmm. What does responsible generative AI usage look like in higher education and in research settings?
Well, I think first we all need to follow the GMU AI policies. So like, for example, GMU has said that what kind of data we can share with AI and also what kind of AI services that we can use. So we need to all follow those institutional policies. We also need to protect the data privacy. So for example, if we are collecting data, for example, we are analyzing the sentimentals of the tweets, or if we are extracting user locations, all the data that we are using AI to help us analyze, we are sharing those data with the AI provider or the AI companies, for example, Google. And if your data is sensitive, or if your data contains like private information, you should not do that. So you should follow their company's policies. We also, of course, need to protect copyright. So you should not share copyright protected materials to AI. And also because nowadays AI is really powerful. So they can generate very realistic images and also videos. So we should not spread misinformation. So like generate deepfake videos, etc. And also lastly, I think, and also very important for education is that, so I always speak with my students that when you can use AI to help you to increase your productivity, you are still responsible for the accuracy by yourself. So as I said earlier, so when they make mistake or when their answers are not accurate, they lose points, not AI lose points.
So it's on them, and it's really, they have to have a different skill set now because they need to put in information into the generative AI. Mm-hmm. It's going to give them an output that hopefully is better than the one that they would have come out with themselves. But then they have to check.
Yes.
But that requires another skill set.
Well, I think actually not. So for example, if they want to verify the accuracy of the queries, you ask question like find out the maximal value of your dataset, and AI give you the query. And you should still understand the basics. And then you should be able to say, okay, that query makes sense. If you don't understand the query, you can ask AI further to explain the query until you're comfort that, okay, this query really, really makes sense.
Okay.
And then AI just can help you write queries. So sometimes, especially for beginners, so they understand all the basic syntax. What really hard is that write some tricky code or queries. And this is what AI is really good. So you can leverage AI to do this part, but still you need to understand the code and also make sure that accuracy of the output. If you don't understand, you can ask AI to help you explain. And AI is really good at that part as well.
Yeah. I think where I was coming from was from maybe a content perspective, and maybe it's more of an expertise. Mm-hmm. Like, so I come from strength and conditioning and sports science, if you will, and there's some instances where you'll ask it a question and it will come back with a logical explanation, but in reality, that's not how it works. But students will think that's how it works. Mm-hmm. But if you haven't been in those situations or talked with individuals in those situations, you'd be like, yeah, that makes sense, but that really wouldn't work because of X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. Whereas in a more mathematical perspective, it would absolutely, it's more binary. It's more definitively right or wrong, if that makes sense. So the more contextualized it is, the more the filter they have to have, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Okay. So thank you for that. Responsible AI usage or generative AI usage, I think, is really important for us all to understand. Because I do think we have a responsibility to ask ourselves, should we be using this? And if the answer is yes, how should we be using this? Which you talked about that. So if you could give faculty one key takeaway about generative AI, what would that be and why?
I think my challenge of teaching AI and also teaching with AI is that I really need to find a balance that on one side, we really want to empower students with those technologies that they can to increase their productivities and also build those skills, those AI skills. And on the other side, we still also want students to remember and also understand those content that they have learned. So they need to also develop those critical thinking capabilities, which is very important for us as human beings. So I think at the first class, I always told my students that use AI as a partner that you can help you understand your learning materials, your lectures, your labs. Do not use AI as a shortcut to have high grades.
So I've been in a number of rooms where fellow members of the academy will say, I'm fearful that AI and the use of AI is going to have a deleterious effect on students' critical thinking abilities. What would you say to that?
I think that's true, actually.
Okay.
I agree, because we do have recent studies that show that people using ChatGPT to write essay versus people without ChatGPT to write essay. And the research shows that people without using ChatGPT, they tend to remember the content well. They can recall the details from those writings. So I think, yes, thinking capability, critical thinking is still very important. And we still need to emphasize students to develop such type of the critical thinking capability.
And how would you advise us faculty members, particularly those who are focused on the teaching aspect and using generative AI in the teaching world? How would you, if you know your students are going to use it, can't get around that, let's say, how would you advise us? How do we ensure that they actually are being critical and they aren't just going up to ChatGPT or to Copilot and using it?
This actually is the biggest challenge that I'm facing now. So I think we need to find the balance. Fortunately, the course I'm teaching are technology courses, so that it's a very relatively easier to verify the output. So what I was trying, so first I try to give them different data set so that all student answers are unique. And also if they use AI, that's fine, but I will be able to verify the accuracy of their results. And so I really push students that, so when you use AI, if you use that as a shortcut, there's a risk that because AI still make mistakes, and you will be punished if you provide the wrong answers.
Last question.
Yes.
You've dabbled more in AI than most people. You've written a book on AI. What would be your message to faculty? What would be your message to anyone listening about AI and the usage of AI?
Well, I think we're in the very exciting moment where AI really empowers us and also really increase our productivities. So if for students or faculty members that have never tried using AI, so I really encourage them to try it. So there are a lot of resources that are available. Even for GME faculty member and our students, we have Copilot at least. So you can try to use Copilot, like say how they can help you draft emails, create slides, or even generate images. So try it by yourself, and then try to build your AI skills, and that can really empower you in teaching and also in education.
Thank you, Xuebin, for being here with us today.
Thank you.
That's it for today's episode of the CFI Faculty Lounge Podcast. A big thank you to our guests, the CFI Ops team, Sarah Rush, Zach Williams, and most importantly, you, our listeners. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a colleague. To stay updated on new podcast episodes and other faculty development opportunities, join our listserv by clicking in the link in the description. Thanks for listening, and tune in next time for more meaningful conversations about teaching and faculty life.